Cops of Reddit, what's the most bullshit sounding excuse you got that actually turned out to be true? One of the funnier ones that I remember. We got a call for a kid. He was 18 and a gang member, brandishing a firearm. He had pulled up his shirt pretending to brandish a firearm to intimidate somebody. The person calling only saw a holster. After we got there, he kept telling us it wasn't a gun but a dildo. We took him down at gunpoint, and he was right. He was walking around with a holstered, black dildo. Why? Because he could haha. The balls on this guy, seriously. Okay, so legit answer. One night I'm out working, and as I go down the street, fairly nice middle class area surrounded by some high crime neighborhoods. Around midnight I see a dude on a bike, no lights on, pulling a lawnmower behind him on a rope. I immediately flip a 180 and light him up. Recognize the guy as a local homeless dude with some prior burglary/theft arrests. I walk up and just open with "Dude, come on." Guy holds his hands out and swears he didn't steal the lawnmower. Claims someone just gave it to him. I ask who, and he doesn't know a name. So I demand he tell me where to find said lawnmower owner. The directions he gave were literally go that way a bit, then right at a stop sign, and take one of those side streets that way. It's about halfway down a street, at a house that has a pickup and a car in the driveway. By this point backup had arrived, so I leave him in the presence of backup and drive off in search of his mythical donor of lawn equipment. I made a decent guess as to the first turn, then flipped a mental coin as to which of the next 3 side streets he would have gone down. I pick the second of the 3 streets and start down it. Every other fucking house has a truck and car combo. There must have been a dozen houses that matched the description. Halfway down, I see an average looking house and go EHH. I'll try this one. After all, it's midnight and this is a wild goose chase. Go up, ring the doorbell. Middle-aged dude comes to the door. "Hello sir, have you been giving away lawnmowers to random sketchy homeless guys at midnight today?" Yes, as a matter of fact, he had. Homie Arwana goes on to complain to me that his wife was upset at his continual inability to get the mower running and had ordered him with some severity to remove the mower from the house or face the consequences. He pushed it to the curb right as homeless guy rode by, and the latter had asked and received his permission to take it. I drove back in shock and amazement, apologized to homeless guy, and sent him on his way. A few months later we ran into each other at a nearby gas station, and he told me it turned out just to need a new spark plug, and that he had gotten it running again before going on to sell it for $150 to someone. 4 years after, whenever I would run into him, he would always make sure to remind me of the money he made from selling that stolen lawnmower. Lol. Had a domestic in progress I responded to during Christmas Day, and the excuse for them fighting was we are not mad at each other, we are just upset because we wanted to surprise the kids for Christmas. We got some deer, dressed them up, now they are destroying our house. Turns out there was literally 3 fully grown white-tailed deer in the house, somehow dressed with full bell harnesses like Santa's reindeer. I had to call the game wardens down, who were then able to help me remove the deer from the property without injury to us or them. How they managed to get the deer and dress them up is still a mystery to this day. I think if I were going to make it a priority to capture live deer, I would set a shit ton of bear traps out, wait for the deer to get snot slobbering drunk, lasso him up, and haul them off. I wonder if that's what they did. I thought you wrote bear traps, and when I got to the second paragraph I was like, my dad is an officer and he pulled someone over for speeding and running a red light, and they said their breast implant burst. He called IMS to rush them to the hospital, and turned out it did, and it's actually very dangerous if they leak. Edit. Thanks for my first silver edit. It's not actually as dangerous as I thought. Thanks to the plastic surgeons that commented. Do you know why I pulled you over? My boob exploded. One of the few occasions where calm your tits could be taken literally. Not really an excuse, but shocked the shit out of me. I've always been told a diabetic with high blood sugar acts the same as someone who is drunk. Get a call for a car all over the road, hitting trash cans on the side of the road and whatnot. We stop the car and get the driver out. He's slurring his speech like no other, can't maintain his balance to save his life. fails all the sobriety tests, but blew zeros on the PBT. He denied drinking and swears up and down he didn't do any drugs, never mentions the diabetes. We're all scratching our heads and I remember the blood sugar thing. Call medical to our location and sure as shit his blood sugar was 550 and he finally remembers that he hadn't taken insulin in 8 hours. I used to work as a military police officer. I was working at the main gate one night and this guy tried to come on base, but he didn't have any ID other than a driver's license, so I couldn't let him on. The guy told me that a general said he could come on, but he didn't have any proof of that and he didn't know what the general's name was. It was also super late at night and he didn't seem to have any answers that would help us identify who he was. Long story short, the dude ended up being legit and was coming on base to be awarded a silver star the next day from that general. Edit. Since a few of you guys are asking what he earned the silver star for, I did some digging and found this for you all to read if you're interested. Also, turns out I was wrong about the silver star. This guy had a silver star already and was being upgraded to a Navy Cross. Something similar happened to my dad once. He was working the main gate. Dude comes up to him without ID, asks my dad to let him in. My dad refused. Turns out the guy was some kind of big shot in the army and my dad got to spend some time in military jail. As far as I remember, the guy actually came to him, apologized and said he did everything right. What the fuck? They put him in jail for doing his job. Not a cop. Family friend was. Pulled a guy over who was speeding profusely. Guy was obviously disheveled. He said he was headed to the hospital because he had a tick on his penis. Cop was confused, but he escorted him there, then waited in the lobby to check on him/see if he was blowing smoke. After a while, he asked the desk what was going on, why it took so long to take a tick off his penis. Her reply, it wasn't on it, it was in it. I actually met someone this happened to. He said he got a tick in his dick, about an inch in, he said, when he was 17, and had to go to the hospital to get it out. He said the pretty young nurse with the forceps and the alcohol was enjoying herself far too much, and he was not enjoying himself at all. He said he wasn't interested in sex for quite a while after that. I guess it took time for the trauma to fade. Former cop here. I was behind a vehicle that couldn't stay in the lane, kept swerving, etc. It was 1 AM, and I think another drunk idiot on the road. Pull him over. Guy is a straight up asshole to me. Curse me out, yelling at me, and I notice his speech is slurred. I get him out to car, and I can smell a fruity smell on his breath, and he has to lean against the car for support. I ask him how much he had to drink, and he tells me to fuck off. By this point I'm ready to bring him in for a DUI, but I just had a feeling something wasn't right. I called EMS to come check him. Blood sugar was at 40. Not drunk, just a diabetic. If I would have arrested him, he probably would have died before I finished the paperwork. Go with your gut if something doesn't seem right. My first ever real call was for a flasher at the local park. When I got there and finally found him, it was a mentally impaired young man 16 to 17 who had a pair of headphones on and a full Pooh Bear. I said, hey man, come here, what the hell is going on? You know you have to keep your pants on, especially at the park. He goes on to tell me he had bad itching down his pants and couldn't take it anymore, so he had to rip his pants off and was running home to get help. I said, come on, you couldn't make it home first. He said no, I had ants in my pants. As sure as shit, according to more than one witness's account, he had been sitting in a sandbox playing at the park and accidentally on a nest of red ants that had crawled up his pant legs. I love that this was your first call. Not a cop, but I did get stopped by one for eating a taco. I worked at a community college in LA that had a high school right next to it. Well, there was a lot of drugs sold through the fence at the high school, so there was always a cops driving up and down the street between the schools. Couldn't get a parking pass since I just worked at the school, so I always parked on that street. Hit up Taco Bell for lunch and was sitting in my car eating my double-decker tacos when a cop drove past. Next thing I know, he's flipping a U-turn and heading right for me. He slides to a stop driver window and yells at, what the hell do you think you're doing? Stunned, I just said eating my lunch. Well, he isn't buying it and says I'm hiding something. I just hold up my taco and looked so confused. He burst out laughing and peeled out. Saw him a few times after that and he always waved and had the biggest grin on his face. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.